How you doing, buddy? Look at you with your blonde hair. Amazing. Oh, your blonde highlights are really turning blonde, buddy. Are really coming out too. Oh, amazing. Well, somebody asked me about my connection to Scotland recently. And they wondered, you know, what it was, because her family was Scottish. And I guess it has been a while since I mentioned it, so may as well tell you guys. Well, as most of you know, my last name is Stewart. My mom had this thing about Scotland, and when we were growing up, she would tell us stories about Mary, Queen of Scots, and James Stewart, the Young Pretender, you know, others. And I think part of my mom's fascination with Scotland is, you know, was because of our last name. So, you know, I grew up on the assumption that, you know, somewhere down the line, we had royal Scottish blood, you know, as Stewarts. So, about, I don't know, 3 years after my father passed away, me and my sister went to Scotland for 10 days. Had a great time. And we're out riding around in the tour van one day, and the driver pulls off the side of the road next to this field. And there's one cow standing out in the middle of the field, and she had her head buried in a hay bale. So we all climbed off the little van there and walk up next to the fence, and we start yelling to her, and you know, she pulls her head out. And that was the first Highland cow that I'd ever seen in person. You know, I knew what they looked like, and I knew what they were and things like that, but you know, I'd never seen one in person before. And I knew the minute that I saw her that at some point in my life, I was going to have a Highland cow. Had no idea where I was going to get one, what I was going to do with it, nothing. I just knew that at some point I was going to have one, you know. There was no question about it. And I knew after my last trip to Scotland that I wanted to go back. It's a beautiful country. And I thought, you know, it'd be nice if I knew more about my family history, you know, so that I could maybe go and see some of those places, you know, associated with our family. So I started doing my genealogy. It took me about 3 years. And I, you know, after 3 years, I kept hitting this dead end. You know, and I couldn't get over it. It was just this huge brick wall. And I was about to give up. And I finally got a letter from a distant cousin who sort of matter-of-factly then informed me that we weren't Stewarts at all. That our great-great-grandfather had caused a train wreck and caused a locomotive to plunge into the Mississippi River. so the railroad blackballed him. So he went to Louisiana, changed his name to Stewart, and went back to work for the railroad. You know, I was, to be honest with you, I was really mad. I was seething inside. You know, all my life, I'd grown up thinking, you know, I'm a Stewart. You know, and all of a sudden, you know, I'm not. And he mentioned the name, and I'd never heard the name. It turned out to be Sandilands. And, you know, like I said, I'd never heard the name before, but, you know, I was still pissed off about the fact that we weren't Stewarts. But my cousin, when I told him I was upset about it, he was like, you know, what are you talking about? Our family goes back probably older than Stewarts do in Scotland, which kind of blew me away. You know, I thought he may have been joking or something. But, you know, I started looking into it more. And sure enough, not only was my true ancestry a huge part of Scottish history, but that my distant cousins is a baron, and to this day they live in the family castle that our family has held for 750 years. Last time I was in Scotland, I got to meet the Lord and Lady. Very nice people, very knowledgeable. They were gracious enough to give me a tour of the house, of the castle. You know, small castle. It's like a fortified house, really. But you know, he was pointing out the different changes over the centuries. It was an honor to be there. You know, and considering that, you know, how mad I was about, you know, not being a Stewart, you know, I'm really glad it worked out the way it did. Alrighty. And see, now I gotta walk around with a pocket full of Hamish hair. Or something like that. Oh, I hear your belly, buddy. Oh, you got good gut sounds, don't you? Oh, Masking. Yeah, see how muddy your feet are. You've been in that swamp. You've been in that swamp, ain't you? That's my boy. That's my buddy.